How to start your own accounting practice in 2024. So my name is Bryce Tubbs. I got started with my accounting and bookkeeping business in 2015. Since then, it's been a very good ride. As we've grown our business, more and more people ask to be mentored inside of our private program. So these are the lessons I've learned as I've, built my business, and I've coached other people how to build theirs as well. So number one, always focus on your warm sphere of influence and really building relationships over, making yourself look credible. So when I first got started, I had a family friend that owned like this laser company, right? So they literally had like they shot, like it was almost like they were cutting stuff with lasers. She had sold at that point, so I really never knew exactly what it was. It like worked with like the automotive space, but it was just like lasers. But she had made a lot of money. And I went over for some advice because I wasn't doing very well in my business. So I was like, well, what should I be doing? Like, how should I get started? What should I do? And she said, well, number one, you need to get a business card. You need to have a website. You need to go get some brochures. So I spent the next like 4 months building my website. That took me a week because I had done stuff with like computers in the past. I had to go and learn how to use like Vistaprint to get some business cards, and then I had some brochures. So after I had that, I was super excited, and I was like going to like these like networking events in town. Like there was like my local chamber of commerce, and they had this wall of where you can put brochures. I put about 50 brochures smack in the middle. I was so proud of myself. I was credible, and I was legitimate. It's 2024. I put those up in 2015. I go back. There has been none of those after 9.5 years taken off that shelf. It was, so if I had been waiting for that to actually like give me my clients, that would have been severely bad. So the point of that is, it's not just about having credibility. Like I'm not saying there's something wrong with having a website. If you already have a website, that's okay. But if you don't have a website, you don't need one to get started. You need to go and talk to people. So what I did, how I first got my first set of clients was by going on LinkedIn. So I basically tried to do things like Upwork or Craigslist, and I was like waiting for people to kind of like say that they needed help. But on Upwork, I never really got any people like reaching out to me, and on like Craigslist, like the ads really didn't really work the way that I thought they did. And like whenever someone would like say they're looking for help, they would never really answer the phone when I would reach out to them. So I started looking on LinkedIn. So basically on LinkedIn, I started noticing there were different people who I had known like in my past life or in work experience, or like a friend of a friend or a colleague of a friend. And I started reaching out and seeing like who could potentially need my help. Now today we have a much more robust version of how to do that. Like we give you like message scripts, we tell you exactly what to say. We tell you how to really build that audience on LinkedIn inside of our mentorship program. So it's like you don't have to do a lot of the guesswork. Like that was really slow for me to learn how to do that because like I was trying to figure that stuff out, right? So I had actually learned that because I had purchased a lot of courses like when I was first getting started. Like the first year after I got started, so like I had spent like the 4 months like trying to figure out how to do like the brochures and stuff like that. But it's like once I figured out that stuff wasn't working, I started panicking. So I started like buying courses, masterminds, mentorship programs, going to like Tony Robbins events, like a bunch of different things to try and figure this stuff out. So then what I would do is like I would put together different strategies and different things I learned from each course. Like I would take something from a sales course and try it on LinkedIn. I would take a social media marketing course and try it on LinkedIn. I would try, how to identify who was your ideal client and try it on LinkedIn. So I just like built the system after spending a lot of money for it, right? But it's all about relationships. So I would like for you to think about like social media almost like this giant ecosystem of, actually, I would like you to think about LinkedIn like a giant networking event where you can go and really assemble all the people from the giant like auditorium room and pull them into a private room where you can talk to them. You're the one that controls when they listen, when they leave, how many people are in, what industry the people are in, are they interested in accounting? Like you can control that micro room inside of the macro auditorium networking event, right? So it's all about too, not just having the micro event one time, but you can keep having that every single week for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years until a certain percentage of those people in the small room purchase from you. Right? And that's the brilliance of it. A lot of people kind of get overwhelmed because they say, like, should I be posting on social media? Should I be messaging? Should I be like joining like groups? Like what should I be doing? Right? But really what it is, like, identify who's a person who potentially would want to work with you, right? And I have some videos on this YouTube channel that talk about how to understand who your ideal client is, right? Because, I mean, it's not just someone that has money, right? It's also someone that should value your service. It's someone where maybe you should have like an affinity to the industry. Like if you've never done anything with construction, like in your entire life, you don't even like talking to construction business owners, like, I don't know if I would make that your niche. Versus if, like, maybe you've worked in nonprofits and you like nonprofits, or you worked like in, let's say you worked with like auto, right? And you want to go work with auto, whatever the case might be, right? That's how I'd really think about who we're identifying. From there, we just have to learn how to reach out, how to build relationships. Now, where a lot of people struggle is that they try and reach out strictly to sell a service. Remember, it's about a networking event. Networking event's about relationships. That means that people need to know, like, certain things about you. Now, before you pitch your service, there's a couple things that you should know about a person. So number one, you should know, like, do they have a problem? Number two, do they actually want to solve the problem? Number three, what have they done to solve the problem? Number four, what's the value of the problem to them? Number five, do they actually want to learn about how you can help them out? Then you can invite them to a call, right? When you have those different principles, it makes everything a lot easier versus just trying to, like, spam, just, hey, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. And that's what 90% of people do, right? One challenge that I see with a lot of, like, accountants and bookkeepers is, even though you want to help people, we tend to be very transactional in the beginning because we need money. But the fastest path to making money is by actually getting to know a person. Because if a person knows you and likes you, like, even if they don't have like the biggest need for your service, or even if they they're not really looking for your service, if they like you enough, they're willing to listen to why your service can help them, and then they're more likely to actually like purchase from you and start working with you for longer. Versus if you just send the message where it's like, hey, do you want to work with me right now? You're only going to be able to get about 1 to 3% of the overall market on the phone at any given time, right? Because think about it, most people are not going to want to work with a complete stranger, right? This is a high trust type of service, right? They need to make sure that not only can you help them, but they need to trust you enough to actually let you have access to their books. They also have to trust you enough to make sure that, the information and stuff that you're doing is enough to actually, like, do it correctly, right? So, like, you don't want to have someone doing, let's say, for example, someone's going to do a tax plan with you that's going to show you how to, like, reduce, like, $100,000 a year of your tax liability. You got to make sure that person actually knows what they're doing, because if they do it wrong, you could get in a lot of trouble. Same thing with your bookkeeping, right? Let's say that, the bookkeeper messes up your books, and you're making decisions based on inaccurate data. Like, you think that you have an extra $100,000 in net profit or EBITDA, but you actually only have 10. If you're spending like you have 100 and you only have 10, you're gonna go get in trouble very quickly, right? So that's how I think about social media, right? It's all about increasing that sphere of influence, getting the more people. You should think about it like, if 1% of the people that are actually in your network who are qualified business owners work with you, you'll never be hungry. Like, you'll always be able to go get more clients. You'll even have a wait list of people kind of waiting for you to use your service. Number two, invest in your skills. So as I kind of talked about, like, I started purchasing like courses and different like things like that. But if I was to go back in time and I would only like focus on like the absolute courses I needed, I would be focused just on building my sales skills. So your consultation sales skills, right? So sales is the number one skill. It's like number one, it's most misunderstood, but also number two, it's the most valuable service. Everyone thinks, you're just pressuring people, you're like a used car salesperson, and no one really wants to talk to you, right? That's bad salesmanship, right? There's a reason why there's very high turnover in used car dealerships. It's because most times it's like the people just aren't very good at their job. They just don't have the proper training to be able to do it, right? But sales at its finest amount is really leveraging that kind of virtual networking factor we talked about. All it is connecting the stuff you've talked about in Messenger to how your particular service can help them. And you're just basically customizing how you can help someone, right, in a consultation call. Then you also need to be able to help people get out of their own way, because a lot of people make really bad decisions no matter how much money they're making, right? I've actually kind of found that it's actually like a U-curve, right? So it's like people that are not making a lot of money, in some cases, like, they make bad decisions, and then it kind of goes down, but the more money people make, they still make very similar decisions, you know? So it's like, just because we have like this misconception that the more money someone makes, like once they make, $1 million per year, they're like perfect, they make these amazing decisions. Not all the time. They could just have a business that's working in spite of themselves, right? So once you understand how to learn sales, that makes things a lot easier. It's so much easier to get to 6 figures a year. And here's a cool thing too. You only got to get good at sales one time. You only have to get good at marketing one time, because then once you start getting enough clients, then they start just working with you for the next 10, 20 years, right? So you only need to build your practice one time. But you also have the skill sets where if you were to lose every single one of your clients, you're able to rebuild your practice very quickly. Right. A good example is one of my students named JT. So when he was first getting started in the program, he was doing about $300 a month, right? So he had I think it was like 2 clients, each were paying him like $150, and he was really having trouble getting people to want to work with him at higher price points. They'd always try and like negotiate down, or they want to pay him like hourly, right? So the first thing we did was just fix the way that he, number one, relates to people on the sales call, how he presents the value of his service, and then also how he does his objection handling. He got so good at sales, people would even put like the first month deposit on the phone immediately, and then have to like join his wait list, and they wouldn't get started with him for 3 months. I literally put down like a deposit the first month to hold their spot while being on his wait list. That's a very, very, very big difference between, from when he started, where people were trying to like lower the price and like get him to like take discounts and stuff, right? But it's all about sales skills. He made it to about $30,000 a month. Within about 9 months, he got to about $10,000 per month. Within about 2.5 years, he was at $30,000 a month, right? I'd like to give the time frames because it just kind of gives you more context into it, right? Because this is not about this actually slides into our third point. It's not about getting rich quick, right? It's all about focusing on 6 to 12 month increments instead of 90-day increments. What I've kind of noticed from a lot of people that struggle is that most people think in 90 days, okay, because actually most people really do 30 days worth of effort, and they can maybe focus on something for 90 days. So it's like they spend the first 60 days kind of planning and thinking and focus and like being excited about it, and then do 30 days of activity. Within those 30 days of activity, generally nothing happens because they're not really doing the right things. And success does take a little bit of time, and then they kind of burn out and they just do something else. Or they take a rest for 6 months and they try another 90-day cycle, take a rest for 6 months, try another 90 days, right? You need to get out of that cycle. Just commit to something for 6 to 12 months and understand, like, for the first, if you're in a program or if you're like working with someone, you should get results within like 30 days, right? 30 to 45 days. Now, that does not mean you're gonna be at 10 grand a month within 30 to 45 days, but you should either be able to get consultation calls or your first set of client within 30 to about 45 days. Right? If you're working with someone. If you're just doing this stuff on your own, it's I don't know. I can't see you. I don't know your skill set. I don't know your background. So it could take you a day to get a client. It could take you 2 years to get your first client by yourself. Not making fun of you. I just don't know you. But yeah, focus on 6 to 12 months. It's like, if you focus on that, like it's almost like investing in the stock market, right? So a lot of people, right, who are the people that make the most money over time? Not kind of like hedge funds, but just like the regular people. It's the people that maybe invest like in the S&P 500 over 40 years. So they put some money in like day number 1. Maybe they invest a small amount every single month for 40 years, right? Because they don't have to be right, versus someone who's like a day trader where they're like making 3 to 5 different investments every single day. Like the shorter the time frame, the harder it is to kind of predict if you're going to be right or wrong, because there's just too many things that kind of happen and fluctuations in the short term. Versus the long-term traders, those are the ones that consistently get the best returns and keep improving their money over time. It's the same thing with our business, right? If you're focused on, okay, I gotta get a client in week number 1, or I have to get a client in week number 2. You don't know if it's like the right week. You don't know if people are taking a vacation. Maybe it's a week in August where all the business owners have like some kind of like random business networking event in your industry, right? You don't know. But if you do it over 6 to 12 months, it's very, very simple. And everyone that's told you no in the past in a consultation call generally will come back around if you do your consultation call right. Like if you do it wrong, people just don't want to work with you, I can't help you there. But if you do it right, then generally people come back 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. But if you stop after 90 days, you don't have that time for that, people to change their mind and then come back to you. Cool. And like even too, there are some business owners that will literally ignore you for like 3 months just to see if you're like kind of like a fly by night kind of person who are just kind of in it for a couple of days. Because that's what most of your competition's like. So for example, one of our students named Audrey, so she's been in the program, I think she's been in the program about like 2.5 years. So the program's about 1 year, but generally like for people that are doing really well or people that just want to have questions, we have like a lot of touch base points. Because generally like we're friends by the end of this thing, right? People that make you a lot of money, you generally like them, right? So a lot of my students like me. Now, for that, she signed up last year. She signed up 7 consultation calls the first week of the year. This year, she signed up 14 consultation calls in the first week of the year. Right? How did she do that? It's because a good portion of those people maybe said no to her throughout the year. And then when the time was right, they're like, "Hey, I know we kind of talked and I said no to you, but you maybe can you help me out?" And out of 14, she generally closed about 65 to 70% of the people that get on the phone with her, right? So it's just like every single year it gets easier and easier and easier and easier. But again, that's because she's thinking in longer time frames, right? And that's something that we work on in the program, like how to think about business to make sure you're actually going to go and reach your goals, okay? So that's the thing, it's like build your sphere of influence and focus on relationships. Number 2, get good at sales, right? Invest in your sales skills. Number 3, focus in 6 to 12 month increments. Do not focus on 30 to 90 day increments. It's not going to work if you do too short. Okay. So hopefully this video has helped you out. If I had known this stuff when I got started, I'd be light years ahead of where I am now. Now, if you want some help growing your business, like maybe you've been trying to grow it for a certain amount of time, or maybe you've been thinking about starting your business, but there's just so much stuff that's kind of like in the way. If you want to be able to avoid a lot of the mistakes that cause most people to fail, go ahead and click on the link inside the description, book a call with myself or a member of my team to see if I can help you inside of our program. Okay? It's not for everybody. We only work with a select few people, right? Because we want to make sure that if you do join our program, if you do invest money with us, that we have the highest probability of you reaching success with our methodologies. So if that's you, I'll see you on the call. If you're not quite ready, that's A-okay too, okay? And I'll see you inside of the next video. Take it easy. Talk to you soon.